Welcome to 340 Paddler, and today I want to talk about drafting. It is something that we see in the race and is frequently misunderstood. Because of the nature of what we're doing, it adds efficiency, which makes the 340 less of a painful experience. And anything that lessens our pain is always positive, but it's frequently rather misunderstood. So, what is drafting? Well, in NASCAR, for example, drafting is basically putting your car up against the car ahead of you because that way you get this line of clean air. You don't get any drag at the back of your car. So you're basically kind of giving the car ahead of you a little bit of a push. And it's not entirely dissimilar when you get into kayaking. So let's talk about the advantage of drafting, and we see this fairly regularly. The advantage will always go to the person in the back, and when we're drafting in the 340, this is K1 drafting, where you're going to see that sort of diamond formation or V formation. In the 340, we're not moving fast enough to really make use of that unless you're drafting off a very large boat, say a 6-man boat, in which case you can draft to the side. Instead, in the 340, you want to draft right on the tail of the person ahead of you, and the advantage goes to the person in the back. There's no advantage to the person in the front, but there's also no disadvantage. You're not adding drag to them or anything. So this person gets the primary advantage if this were the 340. Now, in terms of methods, really there's only one really good method, and that is to put your boat, and here we're just sort of seeing that wake coming off. You want to put your boat as close to the stern of the boat ahead of you as possible and try and follow it as closely as possible. If this is a larger boat, if this is some kind of large, say, Voyager canoe or something like that, then you can sit up here, and you would want your boat to be sitting right about here as long as you're clear of their paddles. For us, most of us will do bow to stern. Now, I should say this works best if the person in the front has a rudder. If the person in the front does not have a rudder, that rear end moves around a lot more than you would realize, and it makes it very difficult to draft off of. So if the person in front has a rudder, that's fantastic. And the key here is to stay close. For the most part, you want to be within a few inches. You want to be clear enough that you're not going to hit their rudder, but close enough that you're right there. And when I say stay close, I mean closer than you feel comfortable with. You really do have to be paying attention to what's going on because you don't want to damage your boat or their boat by running into that rudder. But there are a few do's and don'ts, and these are specifically for the 340. You can do this all you want down in Texas or elsewhere, I'm sure, but you cannot do this in the 340. For example, no drafting off of power boats. Although it looks fun, it's against the rules. And don't draft off of the Reaper, because then you're behind the Reaper. So you definitely don't want to do that. The general rule is you cannot draft off any powered vessel, but you can draft off of each other. And this will be advantageous for you. The person in back will save some serious effort. I can't find really solid numbers, but I would say anywhere from 10 to 15% extra efficiency for the person in back. That being said, like I said, there's no advantage to the person or disadvantage to the person in front. So make sure you take turns leading. Last year, Joe Mann and Joe Zellner were drafting back and forth on day one, and they took about 20 minutes each, one sitting behind the other. That's not a bad time frame because it gives you a little bit of time to relax, gives you someone to talk to, and it kind of keeps your brain occupied. So it's definitely advantageous. When you see two boats next to each other, it's easiest to talk, but you're not really adding any advantage to either boat. So that's drafting. And this is 340 Paddler, hoping that you keep your paddle in the water.